gone.
All right, we'll continue with part 3 of our deliberation, our discussion on a thesis presentation with a special focus on methodology, and we are focusing on qualitative research, and specifically it's abductive research strategy. And this is where ECO is presenting. It has presented the first 2 parts, and ECO's thesis is on Halalan Toyyiban food laws in Banten, looking at the different faith-based communities in Banten, Indonesia. Right? So please continue. Mangga, Mongo, silakan.
Yes, I think I have to shift the presentation first.
Very shifting. This is how sophisticated Apple computer is.
File. Pardon.
Okay. What are you doing now?
Try
Okay,
to
good.
share from.
So next week, Thursday, will be at 2:30. 2:30 we'll start with Muhammad Riza's presentation first, proposal presentation, and then Kusama's will be at 4 o'clock. Different assessors as well, not the same assessors. Okay, hang on.
Thomas presentation, sorry. Yeah.
So that is Thursday next week. There'll be Salma's presentation. Will be at 4. My brother Riza Bustami, his presentation will be at 2:30.
Cannot share.
You cannot share.
Sorry for.
Apple computer, you must be able to do everything. There you go.
Okay. The next materials is about the source of data. Data source used in this study, primary data and secondary data. Let's go jump what is primary data and then what is the secondary data is. Primary data are generated by a researcher or researchers who is or responsible for the design of the study and the collection, analysis, and reporting the data. They are new data used to answer specific research questions. Secondary data are raw data that have already been collected by someone else, either for someone general information purposes, such as government census or others official statistics, or for a specific research project. In my study, the primary data comes from collected by the researcher from in-depth interview. Respondents were the members of selected segments of society, manufacturers, consumer protections agencies, and local government's representative in Banten province. They comprise as follows. First, respondents of Muslim representations, which are regional chairman of Nahdlatul Ulama or Pimpinan Wilayah Nahdlatul Ulama or PWNU, regional chairman of Muhammadiyah, regional chairman of Matla'ul Anwar. So Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, and Matla'ul Anwar, this is the Islamic organization in Indonesia. And Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah is the largest Islamic organization in Indonesia. Matla'ul Anwar is the one of the famous Islamic organization in Banten province. Regional chairman of Majlis Ulama Indonesia or Ulama Council, which is refers to LPPOM, or we call this as food agency of Majlis Ulama Indonesia Council. Indonesian Council of Ulama, one of the most important institutions of ulama in Banten.
What is ulama?
Ulama scholars.
Eight
It's all
times
scholars.
Muslim scholars.
Muslim scholars. Ulama is Muslim scholars. So the Bantenese Muslim scholars, one of the important institution of ulama, or the Banten is Majelis Ulama Indonesia. So from the second respondents is from the local government point of view. In this case, I can reach the Banten's Agriculture and Husbandry Department. And the third respondents group are non-Muslims informants or respondents are from Bantenese Religious Harmony Forum. We call this Forum Kerukunan Umat Beragama, which are from Christian community, Protestant and Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, and Konghucu community. I grabbed the respondents. I reached the respondents are the leaders of each community in Banten. The fourth respondents is manufacturers. They are food entrepreneurs that sell pure food, instant food, and ethnic food with or without the halal logo and halal certificates. The secondary data comes from collecting by other researchers and were used. The data collected by other researchers and were used in raw form. In this study, the secondary data were referred to Indonesia Statistic Bureau, the legislation, books, and journals. That's about the data. Then the selection or timeline of study.
Now about the data, let me say something.
Yeah.
For you all who are doing case studies, right? So this is how you want to think about the different groups of people. So by having different groupings of social actors, you will be able to have something that is conceptually meaningful as well,
Yes.
because you have conceptual categories, right?
Yes.
Automatically you have conceptual categories, right? And you can link the conceptual categories to their own characteristics of the social groups. So maybe in Christianity there's certain belief system, you know, and you can pursue a certain line of interview questions and that relate to the Christian faith. The Buddhists will have different view of life, of food, of what wholesome food is, right? Hindus might also have different views of what's permissible, what's
Yes.
wholesome, right?
Yes, sir.
So whether life is sacred or not, or how do you interpret eating meat or not eating meat, right? Those are automatically categorized when you have these groupings, the social groupings, right? So
Yes, why I categorize the respondents, because my title is based on faith-based communities. So I have to grab or I have to resume their thoughts from the various respondents, which comes from the faith-based communities.
Yes.
That's why I just try to grouping the source of data, in this case, as a primary data.
Yes, and that's interesting. Even your title has evolved, right? You started out with multicultural, multi-religious, or multicultural, multi-religious society, right?
Yes,
And then when you presented
my first initial
the proposal presentation,
Yes.
it was pointed out Banten is not quite multi-religious because more than 90% of
Prof. Murad said that, okay, you can use another term of what.
Azmil
Yes,
also pointed out that
Azmil.
who has been to Indonesia many times. So
Yes.
the title also evolves, right? So it's
Yes.
quite normal to evolve.
Yes.
But you see, sometimes when the title evolves, then you might have a different set of research questions that come up from it, or interviews that may come up from it, right? So,
including Appendix C, my Appendix C of list interview.
Mhm.
That's extended too. So after my second field research, I
Mhm.
try to connect the theory with the initial findings.
Mhm.
So I try to fill the gap of the knowledge about the institutional pillars. So in next questions, which is in the second field research, I try to connect that theory, the institutional pillars, or institutional logics, to the questions of the respondents
Yes,
list.
yes. Okay, that's good because we are going to the theory, the analysis part
Yeah,
already.
yeah. It's
Good.
like kind of puzzling.
Yes, yes. Yeah, they are like puzzle, right? Different
Yeah,
parts, they're
yeah.
coming together at the end there. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Right.
So that's a source of my data.
Okay.
And this about the selection time,
All right. Okay.
timeline of study.
Maybe we can skip this one.
Skip this one.
Yeah,
Okay. Research instruments, which is I used in-depth interview. This is just description about what is research instrument. We can go by observation of interview or focus group discussion. In this study, I using in-depth interviews. So in my in-depth interviews, used as one of the qualitative research tools, the study produced a series of questions based on Halalan Toyyiban food laws topic. The open-ended nature of the question defines the topic under the guidance but provides opportunities for both interviewees and respondent to discuss in more detail. In an in-depth interview, the interviewer has set broad questions to ask and may have some prompts to help the respondents, while the respondents has the time and space to respond to questions. That's why I conduct Appendix C, which has, I already set broad questions first, based on my research objectives. So I can use it as my guideline to answer all the research objectives that I needed.
Yeah.
Data collection was made by applying an in-depth interview in 2 time sessions. The first was done with 11 respondents through face-to-face interview sessions by conducting an unstructured, open-ended interview, audio taping the interview, and transcribing it within 4 months on August-December 2019. So the transcribing, I do it with verbatim transcription, bro. So
It's a software.
even,
Yeah.
no, I'm not
Oh,
using
verbatim. All right.
verbatim.
Verbatim,
I'm
I
not
see.
using any
Well,
software
okay.
because I feel comfortable
Yeah.
if I just know about sometimes the insights it's not comes from the statement. The insight comes from how they just respond with laugh or just say thinking for a while,
Yes, yeah.
or just say that's some tone that I just try to grab from the respondents that they already understand about the themes or has they don't understand about the themes. So that sites give me an insight too about how to kind of a grouping the sentence as which themes and sub-themes.
All right. Okay.
So the sum of part I just choose not sum of part, all of part I do it manually.
Yes, yes. Which I think is equally good. Yeah.
But it should be specific.
Yes.
It should be so line by line I just assess and each respondents I just assess based on the research questions and the objectives. The same method was done with the second group in-depth interview session that consisted of 25 respondents within a month, from 5th July until 6th August 2020. In this case, in a day, I can do kind of in-depth interview 3 until 4 sessions.
That's a lot.
It depends on the time of the respondents.
So
if I luck, so the respondents can give their response and give their time in one time, and I can reach them and do the research interview, and perhaps in one day I can do at least 2 in-depth interview. So, but I have to active to contact them if they not willing to do the in-depth interview. So I just cancel and go through the next respondents. The same method was done with second group in-depth interview. However, some of respondents could not be interviewed face-to-face and had to be just into one-on-one interview virtually via web-based due to circumstances caused by the crisis of the pandemic coronavirus disease, such as the large-scale social restriction in Banten in Indonesia. Then respondents request to do the online in-depth interview and the social distancing due to the pandemic. Furthermore, Creswell described. Sorry.
This is about interviews.
Yes.
You have more or less explained this part. Yeah.
Yes. This is what. Furthermore, Creswell described that for the interview protocol, the researcher could interview by recording handwritten notes, audio taping, or video taping. In this research, I do audio taping. Plan to develop and use an interview protocol for asking questions and recording answers during a qualitative interview. Researchers record information from interviews by making handwritten notes, audio taping, or by video taping. Even if an interview is taped, we recommend that researchers take a note if recording equipment fails. If audio taping is used, researchers need to plan for the transcription of the tape. This is the quote from the Creswell about why I do audio taping. And the audio taping then transcript to the kind of transcription in verbatim way. Selection of respondents. The techniques that can be approached for selecting sample in a qualitative study with a non-probability sampling method are continuous sampling, quota sampling, purposive sampling, snowball sampling, and theoretical sampling.
If you're doing qualitative research, if you're not using any kind of random sampling or whatever, right? I would really strongly encourage you to go for purposive sampling. So it is much more acceptable to many examiners. Excuse me. Purposive
sampling.
Avoid snowballing, avoid convenience sampling,
Yes,
right?
Okay.
You go for purposive sampling.
Yeah, that's why in my case I do a purposive
sampling. Some call it purposeful, purposive is good.
Yes.
Yeah. Snowball sampling sometimes is hard to justify and sometimes being questioned, and understand during Viva the methodology section is the easiest one to attack, and then in the methodology the sampling is the one that opens up spaces for the examiners to attack. Snowballing usually can be justified if you're interviewing groups of people where the main population is really unknown, or some underground groups studying some deviants, some drug users, some sex workers, some whatever whichever country that lesbian trapped in a man's body kind of phenomena, right? Can you mention that? Lesbian trapped in a man's body.
Lesbian trapped in a man's body.
So they're still attracted to women, but they are lesbian in essence.
Okay.
You didn't never know, right? So those things. So usually only the community members would know who are in the groups, right? So you could possibly justify using snowballing. But that said, a lot of PhD students or sometimes a lot of research researchers use snowballing, and they claim it to be purposive, right? So snowballing basically go to the mall and start distributing a survey question, and they call it random sampling or snow whatever. So I would not encourage that. So you do not want to explain that to do, right? So even if you hand out what is it, a survey question at the mall, right? You might want to justify that. I would not encourage you to do that. I would really discourage you to do that. You could still justify. You distribute it every half an hour, or there's some randomness to the distribution, you know, or you distribute at different places at different time, and there's a systematic way to do it, you know. So there should be some justification to the method. So the sampling is a crucial one. Sometimes, even though you say it's qualitative, even so you say it's purposive, somehow the examiners still get confused. They will still make the representativeness argument, right? Remember, qualitative research is not about representativeness. You're not making generalization to the whole group, right? You're not doing that. You're identifying certain patterns, certain ways of thinking, certain paradigms, right? You're not making generalizations. Right? You just say, well, these are what we have discovered, right? And we don't say that it's necessarily the whole group of people. So those are the things to understand, yeah, when we talk about sampling too. Okay, continue. What's your next session now?
Okay, after selection of respondents.
Can we go to the present your findings so that we can look at your findings next?
I just want. This is my respondents. There are 16 groups of respondents with 36 respondents. This is the recording duration of each respondents. And for a summary of data gathering instruments, based on Norman Blakey, methods of data analysis are carried out by indexing or coding documents, sorting data to look at pattern, describing the patterns, generating theories from the data, validating the theories. The researcher carried out 6 steps for scrutinizing the data. The phases started by creating categories to validating theories. First, the researcher identified the categories by creating a conceptual framework, conducting assumptions, selecting social agents, and determining sources of data. Then the outcomes were coded based on categories. Next, all documents were classified to construct the patterns. After that, the models were depicted to generate the theories. Furthermore, the thematic and data network was used to construct the general themes. Okay, actually, this is the slides of information about my abductive research process. First, in this first journey of my PhD, it's come from what the topic, what the research question, what the topic, and what kind of research question that I wanna know, I wanna ask, what the objective I wanna know, I wanna do. Then after that, I conduct background of the study, the significance and limitation, then create the literature review, which are in literature review. I search kind of literature to support that there are Halalan Toyyiban gaps, Halalan Toyyiban food laws gaps on social constructs regarding my topics. Then after I go to decide the abductive method is the right.
Okay, I got to interject a bit.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, that's not what you want to say during bypass stage, right? You do not want to say that you look for literature that support the gap, right?
No, I just want to say the literature is support the.
Yeah, that's what you want to say. Okay, so you don't want to say literature to support the gap.
Yeah.
You have found a gap in the literature.
Oh, yeah. Found a gap in the literature review.
Yeah, okay.
To strongs, no?
The gap.
The gap.
So my mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. In this case, I want to, sorry.
You want to know what the literature is on Halalan Toyyiban, and you have found that.
Halalan Toyyiban food law based on social construct is as the knowledge in literature review. Then that's why I go to the abductive method. Using sensitizing on problem concept, the source of data, I just selected the respondents, about the primary, about the secondary data, and do the in-depth interview with qualitative data analysis. That before do this one, I conduct appendix A, B, C that I've already described before. Then go to the field research. The data collection is applying by in-depth interview and it's recorded. Then the thematic analysis comes from the verbatim transcription, then coding documents based on the research objective and appendix C, sorting data to locate pattern, categorize the emerging themes, and describing the patterns of first and second order construct. Then theory matching, generating theories from the data. Then novelty or new findings of each research question or research objective. And finally, my contribution to the knowledge by validating the theories. Okay, that's all, bro.
Yes, okay. Okay. Big bang. All right. Before we adjourn our discussion today, can you also share the presentation, how you presented your findings, right? The themes and all that, right? The first order, second order construct, right?
Sure.
Right. So while Eco is looking for the examples of these are the findings that you show, okay? So that's the flow that was shown just now is you can see the whole the flow of action from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
Yeah, you have ready now?
One of the examples I already prepared.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, for the example of findings, examining the result of Bantelis perceptions regarding purchasing Halalan Toyyiban. This is my second research question or my second objectives. Has revealed various emerging tips for the next step, which is evaluating possible practices of Halalan Toyyiban food loss conceptions in faith-based community. The emergence of 12 conceptions of Halalan Toyyiban food laws was materialized from 31 emergent themes, 55 clusters of themes, and 204 significant statements.
You see the power of the strength and the beauty of abductive research strategy, right? Abductive research strategy is the type of research strategy that can bring out so much from social reality, right? It's rich. The data that's been produced, that's been generated, that's been unearthed, revealed by Eco in her research. You know, it's tremendous, right? It's so rich. So automatically this will form a kind of theorizing on Halalan Toyyiban based on the faith-based communities, right? So and it's hard not to be original, you know. So because social actors are different and original, you know, they are real, you know? So and certainly there'll be similarities with somebody who conducted this research someplace. Have similarities, but
Yes.
but you know, to come out exactly the same like this or 50% chance, 50% same as this, even hard. So especially if this is the original research, right? So no one has conducted something like this. Well, this is a real contribution to knowledge, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's something that Eco was saying just now. I thought is also important, right? Towards the end, it's about theory building. So maybe Eco will talk about the theory building now. So please continue on with the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So figure explains that 204 significant statements 55 cluster of themes and 31 emergent themes I consider is a second order construct, and the first order construct is 12 principles of Halalan Toyyiban food laws. Because if I put all the layers, it's more than 24 significant statements. So it will be too long to describe. So I just try to grab that. Okay, the first order contract is for 254 significant statements, 55 clusters, and 31 emergent themes. Then figure explained that the lowest order of the themes came from textual data gained from the transcription of respondents' recordings. Based on transcription, it sorted 204 significant statements regarding conceptions of Halalan Toyyiban food laws based on social actors' insights regarding the perception of respondents on purchasing Halalan Toyyiban food products. Sentences were grouped into 55 cluster themes, which were then organized into 31 emergent themes. Furthermore, emergent themes were concluded in 12 conceptions of Halalan Toyyiban food laws as global themes. Okay, this is the thematic network of Halalan Toyyiban food law. The thematic network, I use Sterling for do kind of this thematic network. So this is the 12 conception of Halalan Toyyiban food law. This is the 31 emergent themes, and this is the other themes or sentences over here. The novelty of Halalan Toyyiban food law conceptions can be referred in the figure. The conception of Halalan Toyyiban food law based on the structure of thematic Halalan network of Halalan Toyyiban food law was applied in evaluating objective 3.8 of this study, which is evaluating possible practices of Halalan Toyyiban food conception. Sorry, not second, but 3.8 are my objectives. Okay, the conception of Halalan Toyyiban, this is the result. After 204 significant statements,
Can you
55...
make it bigger so that we can...
Okay, how I try to make...
Can you do that?
Bigger.
No? Yes. If you can, it's fine. You can... Fine.
Cannot work.
Alright, it's okay, you can.
Cannot work.
Alright. Okay.
Okay. This is the result after 204 statement, 55 cluster, 33 themes, and this is the final with 12 conceptions of Halalan Toyyiban food laws. First, Halalan but non-Toyyiban. Non-Halalan but Toyyiban. Next, Halalan Toyyiban. Fourth, neither Halalan nor Toyyiban. Fifth, Toyyiban concept includes in Halalan logic. Sixth, Halalan food is Toyyiban, but not vice versa. 7, Toyyiban logo is unnecessary. 8, local wisdom or Halalan Toyyiban food, local wisdom of Halalan Toyyiban food, holistic Halalan Toyyiban food policy, capitalization of the logo, Toyyiban as second thoughts, and non-Toyyiban as non-Halalan. So from the 204 statements, the global themes, 12 concepts of Halalan Toyyiban food laws.
Yeah, this is... and then you have the flowering of themes, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
And another
Another one, yeah.
examples
Okay, please, that's good.
about the Toyyiban. So it's the Toyyiban paradigm. Perhaps I can explain a little more bit.
Okay.
Okay, Halalan food law paradigm.
There's one more there. There's...
This is the explanation, bro. So this is the themes.
Alright.
So
Like this previous one.
One more.
this one,
One more previous one.
this one.
Yeah, okay. Right.
This is halal food law paradigm.
Okay.
Halal food law paradigm meanings are. This is the first research question about the meanings of Halalan Toyyiban food law. So the respondents give their insight, experience, thoughts on halal food law paradigm.
So
Which
the
are
first column there is the actual phrases,
Yeah.
right? The actual
yeah
comments, right?
yeah
The original
actually
comments.
the statement first.
The statements, yes.
The statement first. So this is comes it is bottom up, Prof. So this is the last layers comes from the statement.
All right. You have from the right to the left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these statements, sorry, these themes, they grouping to these themes. These themes grouped to these themes. So in this case, this is our the themes. This is the sub themes. This is the sub themes.
All right. So let's discuss a bit on this one. We'll go in a bit more in depth. So what we have on the extreme right, the small little ones there, right?
Yes, bro.
And then the left is the generalized.
Generalized, yes.
So this is the second order construct.
The grand theory.
Some call it third
Yes.
order construct, right?
Yes.
So the first one is actually the everyday language.
Everyday language.
Everyday
Their
words.
statements.
Their own
the original
statements. Their own original statements. Those on the right. And this is on a particular paradigm, the halal food law paradigm, right? So you extract out, not the whole sentence, you extract out phrases, keywords,
Yes.
key concepts,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But they are still theirs.
Yes.
You do not author from them.
No.
So you take them, right? You group the similar ones together, right? So from there, you see something. So you construct something like, so this will be the first order construct, and then from there, when you group them together, you see some patterns.
Some patterns.
Patterns
Yes.
emerge, right?
Similarity patterns.
And then you put a label to the patterns.
Yep.
The labels to the pattern is your own words,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So on the extreme right will be the words of the social actors. Then when you group them together, you see certain conceptual similarities within this one. That's where you actually using your own second order construct, right? So you're always building towards the higher level of constructs, right?
Yes.
But always be connecting to something
research
that's the ultimately we answer the research question,
Yeah,
right? But you always be connecting to the social actors' comments. You never run away from them, right?
That's why I conduct Appendix D, which are the statements, the original statements
Alright.
before I constructing this.
Yeah, which is the transcripts,
Yeah,
right?
this transcription.
Yeah,
Not
transcription.
original transcription, bro. I mean the original transcription with verbatim. I select them.
All right.
Best,
select,
so I select the right statements, analyze the right statements, and grouping the idea or
Yes.
the themes based on the research question or research objective.
Yes.
Perhaps may I
Go ahead.
show?
Sure. Go ahead. Yes. This looks technical, but this is the process of processing qualitative data. So qualitative data is rich, but you will need to go through. It's tedious, so it's a lot of hard work. Maybe not hard work. It's a lot of work, right?
A lot of
A lot of work. Might not be
Beautiful.
hard. Sometimes it's a kind of mundane. Sometimes a bit. Some
beautiful
find it
work.
boring, But the creative part is about understanding it at a higher level. That's the creative part, right? And in one statement, there can be 2 or 3 themes, right? You can
Yes, could be two or three themes. Okay.
Okay. In one statement that they give, right?
Yes, bro.
Want to show that now, so that we have a picture, and the words will give meaning to the picture. This is helpful then.
Oh. Cannot share for loading.
Okay, if we can, it's
Cannot
alright.
share for.
We can, it's alright. So Apple cannot share. It's like
I don't know.
alright.